Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. My name is Dalton Burdett, and today we're going to be talking about 1952's Singing in the Rain. This film stars Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and the great Debbie Reynolds, and this film was also directed by Gene Kelly, one of the main stars, and Stanley Donen. This is a movie musical, one of the classic movie musicals, but the plot of this movie also just kind of wraps its way into movie history, which is the period of time where movies transition from being silent films to movies with sound, or talkies as they were called. So it takes place in the late 1920s, and it's sort of really about like this Hollywood stardom. Opening scene of this movie is brilliant. One of the great things about this movie is its excellent use of comedy and comedic timing, and the way that it uses its exposition. And I really liked how there's a scene in this movie where these two characters, Gene Kelly's main character and one of the annoying co-leads, who that actress was also nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this movie because she's so funny in it. Her name was Jean Hagen in real life. Anyway, they're being interviewed, and the interview is asking him, tell us about your story and your humble beginnings. And while he says things about how he went to this prestigious, school, and how he started off by doing dance classes here and acting classes here, it's actually narration over flashbacks of what really happened in his life, and it's him starting from, it's like a rags to riches story, but you're seeing conflicting narration with what's actually happening to kind of show, it not only sets the tone for what the feel of the movie is, which is comedic, it shows his actual backstory, and it gives insight as to how the, Hollywood make a machine influences how you have to be in your public persona. So it does just all of those things in one scene, and it was such an awesome and interesting way to go about doing that. And also, speaking more towards the cast, Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor are great, but Debbie Reynolds, just what a national treasure Debbie Reynolds is.
Oh, you can laugh if you want to, but at least the stage is a dignified profession. And what have you got to be so conceited about? You're nothing but a shadow on film. A shadow. You're not flesh and blood.
The musical numbers in this film are excellent. I think that it's not only just the choreography of the dance and the lyrics of the songs, but also just the cinematography and direction of said musical scenes are really well done. Almost better than the actual scene themselves is just how the musical scene was filmed.
When we left the movie show, the future wasn't bright. But came the dawn, the show goes on, and I don't want to say goodnight.
Don't say good morning!
Good morning!
Rainbows are shining through.
Good morning!
Good morning!
And while the film does have a lot of really well-working comedy, I think another great thing about this film is its very deep characters and how each character sort of serves its own purpose to the story, but also is just a fundamentally different character. Gene Kelly's character is just, the main lead who is really tired of being taken over by the Hollywood system. You have Debbie Reynolds, who's an up-and-comer who wants to get into the Hollywood system. And you have Donald O'Connor's character, who is also a hugely funny character, whose role is to just be the best friend of Gene Kelly, because they've been best friends since they were growing up, and just also, always play the piano, be there, and just kind of be that guy that is the... how about we do this? That guy, there's a role in every friend group for that guy, and this is what he does. And I know I keep, being repetitive saying how well the comedy works in this movie, but this film is genuinely really funny. And that's not something that gets talked about very often when Singing in the Rain gets brought up. Since it's a musical, people just talk about the music. This film is hysterical.
But you have to talk into the mic first. In the bush. I'll try it again.
Gee, this is dumb.
Oh, she'll get it, Dexter. Look, Lena, don't worry. We're all a little nervous the first day. Everything's going to be okay. Oh, by the way, Roscoe, the scene coming up where I say, Imperious Princess of the Night? I don't like those lines there. Is it all right if I just say what I always do? I love you, I love you, I love you.
Sure. Anyway, it's comfortable. But into the bush! Okay, again. Quiet! Roll 'em!
Shouldn't have flirting with dames. They will surely find you out.
What? Lena, we're missing every other word. You've got to talk into the mic.
Well, I can't make love to a bush.
All right.
And also, just since I'm a sucker for, movies being about movies, seeing the silent to talkie transition happen and how Hollywood kind of freaks out and they take it more of a comedic route with it. But that was just really fun to see portrayed in a sort of fantastical musical style movie. And, the few scenes where you get all three of them together, especially when they're performing musical numbers, it's pure cinematic magic. It's wonderful. As far for negatives about the film, this film is only like an hour and 43 minutes long, but it does feel its length at certain points, which just means that there's an issue with the pacing. And while it's not a huge problem, it is noticeable, and this movie does kind of do things for the sake of doing them and not necessarily for the benefit of the story. And like, I understand the cinema of attractions, I totally get it, but like, there's a sequence where they have to rewrite one of their movies because it played horrible, it was garbage, and they're trying to figure out how to fix this movie, and Gene Kelly's like, oh, how about I pitch this musical number? And then it does the musical number that he's pitching to the producer, and it's the biggest musical number in the movie. It's long, it's extravagant, and it looks beautiful, and it was extremely well done. Like, that's not the point, but like, we were in such an integral part of the movie, and then it just like puts the plot aside and does this musical scene that is extremely long, and then it just cuts back to the producer, and the producer's like, ah, yes, great idea. And it's just like, okay, that scene just felt very misplaced to me. So I think just pacing and the, very, very small instances of style over actual substance of what's going on can really hurt the movie, but not in a big way, but it is noticeable. And, one more positive before I end it is I'll say this movie is very thematically rich. The actual Singing in the Rain sequence, it comes to a point where the lead character is kind of having a roller coaster of ups and downs throughout his career. And, that scene really comes about to tell just the, underlying story of when you're dealt a bad hand, when you have a bunch of horrible things happening around you, when it's raining outside, just sing. Just make the best of what you have, and eventually you'll find happiness out of that. And this movie does do a great job of reiterating that story in an underlying manner where it's not too in your face. And I like subliminal stories like that. So overall, I love Singing in the Rain. I think it's a wonderful musical movie. I think the numbers are great. I think the characters are great. The actors are great. However, I do think its pacing could be better, and there are some scenes that are just there to be there and not necessarily serve to the story or the characters. But this is still a fantastic movie, and I'm going to give Singing in the Rain an A. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope to see you soon.